right, folks, we live in a increasingly urban environment. With each growing day, our population gets bigger, and each growing day, we're adding more and more people to our cities. So the cities are growing, and as cities grow, we affect the environment. The question is, how much do we affect the environment? In what ways do we affect the environment? Should we be worried? We're going to begin a new unit called Ecology that's going to be studying the effects on wildlife, the effects possibly on us, all the species that live on our planet. So first, I want to give you an overview and let you know kind of what our journey is going to look like over the next, let's say, 2 to 3 months. So the next 2 or 3 months, we'll be studying a lot about the environment, starting with Chapter 1. Chapter 1 is about learning the language and steps of science and doing experiments. We're going to start this whole year off, and we're going to start this ecology unit. So studying the environment, we're going to start it off with Chapter 1 and doing an experiment. This experiment is called the Ecolicious experiment, and it will probably take us about a month to complete. And the final thing we'll do with this experiment is actually to create a report and present it to other classes. That's right, other biology classes. The whole goal of the experiment will be to study our impact, the human species' impact on the environment. That's living and non-living things in the environment of Burbank. And as we study the effects or the possible effects of humans on the environment in Burbank, we'll end up learning language, some vocabulary, and the steps of how to do a science experiment. After we present our experiments to other classes, our proud work, we will then move on to Chapter 2, 3. So we will cover many chapters all the way up to Chapter 4, learning about the environment and issues or concerns about our environment and us living in it. We have climate change will be a very big part of our ecology unit. So as we cover these 4 chapters, we'll discuss a lot of climate change ideas. And then as we move through, we will eventually get to where we do new activities in Chapter 4, like using real crickets to study the amount of each species so we know if they're endangered or not. Studying pathogens like microorganisms that might cause disease and spread amongst organisms like us and make a lot of people sick or harmed. And then we'll wrap it up. So we have 4 chapters that will take about 3 months to complete. But it all begins with this humble Eco Cup, which is our experiment, the Ecolicious experiment, okay? So let's go and start Chapter 1. All right, this is slide 2. We're going to watch this video in class so we can get a sense of how Los Angeles area is doing, our home. How about the air quality? Are there problems in our city that we should know about? And overall, we're going to get a report card for Los Angeles and how clean the environment is. In class, we'll watch the video. Let's move on to slide 3. You can see that 1 in 3 air pollution hotspots in area. Cancer, smog report troubles Burbank. So Burbank may be a wonderful city, but it does have its air pollution problems. And air pollution can be perhaps connected to cancer and smog. Beware. Number 4 here. These are different ways we change our cities. We have city planning. So all the businesses that are built in our city. Here's all the different things that are being constructed, including highways. It changes the land. More new businesses. These are all businesses that will be built and approved, changing the city and affecting the city. This is a small list. That's a big list, right? So our city's always changing, always building things. What about this landfill? This is where our garbage goes. We dump lots of garbage here. Is that good for the environment? Is it a problem? We should think about this. Here's another landfill. right up here on top of a hill. It's above our city, the Shoal Canyon landfill, where all our waste and pollution type litter goes, hopefully. It stays here instead of thrown everywhere else. So we dump it here and bury it. It might affect the soil, it might affect the water. We should learn about these things because it might pollute our environment. Litter. This is Googling Burbank trash and litter. Look at all this litter in our city. Is this bad? Is it a problem? Human waste. That means every time we flush our toilets, that poopy or that pee comes here. So we have to try to clean our water. How clean is our water? How good are we? These are things we need to think about. All right, this is slide 6. And on slide 6, we need to take notes here. It says in your notebook, the purpose of our ecology experiment. So we take notes on page maybe 54 or 55. You'll begin taking notes in this area after your pocket. So you created this pocket here. And we want to write this information down on the first next page. Let's say page 55 maybe, or 56. Let's begin taking notes for chapter 1, ecology experiment. Okay? It says in your notebook, write these things. So if you see this box like this, it means to write down these notes in notebook. The problem is, what's the human impact and effect on our environment in Burbank? So we write this down. This is a problem that when we do our experiment, we want to learn more about. This is why we're experimenting. We want to learn about this. And then our goals for this chapter and this experiment is to do this, and we want to write it down. Learning to do an experiment and learning the language of science experiments. Learning about different variables and groups in an experiment. Let's record this information in your notebook around page 55, please. On slide 6, this is a show of the different steps we take to finish our experiment. Step 1, we will build eco cups like you see here. Plastic cups we will set up so that we can grow an organism in it. That's step 1. And other videos will talk about step 2 and then step 3. If we do all of these steps, we will have a perfect experiment that we will get data from, and we will learn more about this question, the problem. How do we affect the environment? So this is slide 6. Our first thing is building eco cups. Soon, after we build our eco cups, we'll begin thinking about, in our teams, what are things that are affecting the environment, and what do we do as people in Burbank that affects our environment? We'll make lists, and it will help your team develop your experiment to create it. But we're not ready yet. We're not ready to make the experiment yet because we need to start setting some simple things up. So before we can go to a spreadsheet like this and list all these things, look at independent variable, dependent variable, measuring, how will you build it, independent variable, photographs of your experiment. We're not ready for this yet. We must learn what some of these words mean. So let's talk and start thinking what step, the very first steps to do. Because we're not ready for this yet. We can't fill this out. So let's begin simple. So step 1, we're going to build eco cups. So this is slide 9. And in slide 9, you have a pink box. We need to write for slide 9. So in your notebook, write slide 9. And write down these notes for slide 9. And this teaches us how to make the cups, our eco cups, that we'll all use in our experiment. It says, get a dissection probe. It says make 9 holes with it in the cup. So make 9 holes with the dissection probe. Once you have 9 holes in the bottom of the cup, you need to get this compass you may have used in math class before to make the holes bigger. So the holes will be small with this probe. And then you make them a little larger with this device, so they'll get a little larger. And then you need to use, the last thing are these tweezers. You'll use these tweezers or forceps to make the holes as big as 3 millimeters wide. So you'll have a ruler, and you'll measure each hole here to make sure that their width is 3 millimeters. That's scientific. That's very precise. We can do this. Each team will do 2 cups of this. Slide 10. We have more notes to write down, so we understand how to do the experiment and how to set it up. Again, we're trying to build the cups. So we must get out a ruler again, and it says, after you write your notes for this, so in your notebook you'd write slide 10 and then copy these down. Number 1, it says, write down, measure 4 centimeters from top of EcoCup. So from the top of the lid, you will measure with a ruler 4 centimeters down and use a marker. This is step 2 you need to write. It says use a marker and create a line that shows 4 centimeters from the top of the cup. Easy. So you use a marker, a Sharpie, permanent marker, to make that marking. And then lastly, when we can, we will add dirt like this all the way up to that line, but we won't go past the line. So we'll fill dirt up to the 4 centimeters, but then stop. And then we'll do other things after. Slide 11, we must write our notes here. So in your notebook, write slide 11, because this is our 11th slide, and write these procedures. It says you will plant 13 seeds, like you see here, just like you see, in the cup. And then it says plant seeds at proper depth. So you need to use a stick or pencil, like here, to push the seed down underneath the dirt 1/2 centimeter. So you need a little bit of a ruler. So you will take a pencil or stick and mark that stick 0.5 centimeter, very easy, and then you'll push the seed down the dirt until you hit that line that you've measured. Once we have our cups ready to go, we will then be ready for step 2, which is designing our EcoCup. And again, that's step 2. All right, folks, good luck.